Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we talk about movies on this show. And yes, it's been about a month at least. This is the last episode of this.
Yeah, yeah, ish.
Ish, yeah, it's been a while. Very busy October, people getting married, people moving house, and Connor specifically on vacation for like a week. Knocking everything out of whack, meaning that we had to take a break from Influx for a few weeks. This episode is actually going to be about Serpico, which was the Patreon vote winner for October. So this is just obviously a little bit late, but we're doing it now. In fact, we already have the winner for the next one, which is Old Boy, so you'll get that sometime later on this month. But yeah, so we're starting off with Serpico for the first back after the break. Yeah, so we'll start spoiler free, as we always do. See, it's been so long since we recorded one of these that I forget what I say at the start. So, spoiler free, and we'll warn you in the middle before we go into spoilers. Although I feel with this one, there's not as much to get into spoiler wise, in a sense, because A, it's based on a real person, and
It kind of just unfolds.
yes, it kind of unfolds, and there's not
I
really
think,
surprises, I don't think.
well, I mean, the movie opens with the ending,
It,
more or
it,
less.
more or less, yeah, because the movie opens with him being taken to hospital because he's been shot, and it sets up the premise of the film because some phone calls get made, saying, "Oh, Serpico's been shot. Frank Serpico's been shot," and someone says, "Was it a cop?" It says like, "Oh, well, I know at least six that could have done it," and it's like, okay, right, that sets up the because
Yeah,
I think the opening is great. The opening is like a really dark kind of, he's dying in the back of this car, and it's like, okay, this could have been another cop, and then we go back to when he first became a police officer, and we journey through
we
the
just
time
follow
there.
the journey of his career. Yeah,
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that just about every other character is not real. Like they fictionalized everyone else. They didn't want to.
Didn't want to throw anyone under the bus.
Yeah, I think controversially, the friend character Bob, who he kind of like goes to and like works with for a bit in the movie, um, he's also fictional, but he's based on like a real person who did help him. And apparently in real life, just from a quick bit of research earlier on, I didn't go too deep into it, but apparently it was more of like a 50-50 thing, and he was equally as important. But for whatever reason, the book that was written
Dude got
about
the
it,
shaft.
and
Yeah,
he got shafted. um,
yeah.
I don't want to go into that because I mean, like I say, I saw it briefly mentioned in the
I
Guardian
think
article,
I
and
know
that's it.
I read a while back that in the movie he's got two girlfriends,
Yeah,
but
not
I
at the
think
same
it was
time. He breaks up with one, and
yeah, but I think it was like he actually had like five, and like they're all on the go together. I think, and like some of
oh
the I think it
really?
was like yeah,
Well, what's interesting about that though is because he's such a morally centered character that would add a little bit of grey to him. The idea that he's got multiple girlfriends at the
yeah.
same
But they
time.
all know. I think it
Oh, they all
was
knew.
what it
Okay,
sounded like. Yeah,
it was all in the up and up. All right, okay, fair enough.
yeah, yeah.
In which case, but yeah, whatever. Because I mean, this is the story of a cop who's not happy with the corruption. Basically, is he becomes a cop. He's a bit of an idealist. He wants to be a police officer and do good. He always wanted to be a cop. He always wanted to go out and help people. And he very quickly runs into corruption and the way the system works. And throughout the movie, he is transferred from precinct to precinct because he keeps getting into trouble with the other cops around him because every single precinct he goes to is corrupt. And he keeps trying to fix it. He keeps trying to bring it up to superiors. He gets stonewalled, and that's the movie. That's it.
No, in terms of the plot, it's so straightforward.
It is. It may actually be a relatively short conversation because of that. Because I think what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about Al Pacino, of course, who plays Serpico.
Of
We'll
course.
talk about how the direction's handled by Sidney Lumet, who's a fantastic director. He worked with Pacino again on Dog Day Afternoon a couple of years after this, which is also a very, very good movie. Um, so I wanted to see this for a long time just because of his name, just because Sidney Lumet directed this. I wanted to dive into it.
Makes sense. I mean, it'd been on my list to see at some point just because, well, the Serpico, right? It's one of those that people are like, oh yeah. It's one of the classics that you got to watch it at some point.
I'd say it's like a B tier classic. I don't feel like it's in the conversation with a lot of the other big heavy hitters, but it's kind of like
Yeah, but it's always just around.
it's always just it's always on that best of list in the lower half kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
always down there, but
it's always in the conversation where it's like, oh, should we watch? It's like it's not the first thing you should watch, but it's
yes,
definitely okay. You should definitely get to it at some point.
yeah, that's kind of where it falls. So yeah. I guess we'll ask the question. Car, did you enjoy Serpico?
I did. Did you?
I did. Yes.
There we go.
Uh,
Kind of really could have guess that.
Yeah,
Given
well, I mean, we'll rate the movie then. I guess we're done. We'll bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed your 5-minute episode. No,
ease ourselves back into this.
yes. We'll build up. We'll do a 10-minute episode next week. Now, Serpico is an interesting character study. I do think it maybe goes on a little bit too long. I think by the nature of the plot, and I know it's making its point, there is a point though where he gets transferred to like the 5th precinct. It's like, okay, I get it. Everyone's going to be corrupt again.
Yeah, we've seen it all before, and you get the point is it's supposed to feel repetitive and everything's the same because that's how he's feeling. But as a viewer, yeah, okay, maybe it's once or twice too many times.
Well, once or twice too many times might have been worth either just montaging one or two of them, and there's not even one or two specifically that I would call out and say that's the one you'd cut because they all have something unique. They all have something different.
They do. They all have something. It's just by the time you're on the 5th, 6th one, you're like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It goes in circles a little bit, but again, that's kind of the point because it is going in circles for him.
I think you should you do 3 and then a montage. Or you do, 2 montage and then the third one.
Yeah, the big one towards the end,
Yeah.
But there's a nice build. It kind of all hinges, well, not all, there's good direction as well, but a lot of this hinges on Pacino.
It does, yeah.
And luckily,
he has to carry it.
And luckily he's Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Because because there's very few characters. Like I say, his friend Bob, who does kind of help him, and then his girlfriends, who, I mean, let's be honest, the girlfriends are probably the weakest part of the movie because they're very underdeveloped. They're just kind of there to be like, hey, we want marriages and babies, and that's kind of their characters. Yeah,
it's basically they're there to have someone where he can go, no, I want to be dedicated to the job too.
Yeah, it's basically Captain Kirk. It's no, I'm married to my career. I'm married to my starship. That's pretty much essentially it. He keeps getting into these longer relationships, but they're just kind of like, yeah, we'll live together, but I'm not gonna get married. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to do any of this. But he goes through all these different things, and we see him, when he first starts. He's in his uniform. He's with his partner at the time, and they get a call for a rape, and they show up as a gang rape, and they chase down the guys, and he kind of, when he takes the guy in and he wants it to be his collar, the detectives kind of laugh and like, no, we'll take it because come on, give it to us, like you don't need a collar, whereas we've got quotas to fill and bullshit like that.
Yeah, it's the whole movie is that.
Yeah, it's basically that's not how things work. It's it presents the cops as more of like just this corrupt gang that happen to have badges that will occasionally arrest bad people, but a lot of it's them making deals with. And it's funny because we've been watching The Deuce, and I couldn't not think about that because it's around the same time period. It's we've seen some of that in there. It's the same city, of course, as well.
Yeah. There's a great bit for me is when the other cops start shooting at him, like not realizing that it's him.
Yeah, because one of the big things in the movie is that he becomes a non-uniform cop. And
plainclothes, as they like to call it.
A plainclothes, yeah. And he even mentions how everyone seems to think he's corrupt immediately just because he's in plainclothes. That as soon as you're not in a uniform,
because they all are.
Because they all are. And he does look kind of grungy. He has his hat, he lets his beard grow out. He looks like a homeless man, to be honest. The
beard just gets longer and longer. Yeah, there's no good.
For all of the movie,
I imagine they just shot this backwards.
Or in order.
Or not, I mean. Yeah. Well, I mean, from the first scene, right?
Oh, outside of the flash forwards, but in terms of chronological order, I'm sure they just more or less did it in order, because or at least at the very least segment it off into the sections where he's got this type of facial hair and just let it grow a bit.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be easier to start with it big, right? Get it out, and then start, and then just trim it down as you go, and just trim it and trim it and trim it and trim it.
I mean, you absolutely could do that, but I think it's equally as possible that they just shot it in order.
You could do it. I'd do it backwards. Just that seems easier to me. It seems like I've got more control over it.
You've got more control, and admittedly, you don't have to wait for it to grow a little bit between when it's supposed to jump up.
You can go right next day, trim it down an inch, whatever.
I also wonder if it's more complicated than we were making it sound, and there was a really convoluted schedule to this. Yeah. To make his beard work. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if there's actually one or two scenes where it's actually a fake beard.
That wouldn't be the first time.
Because they had to go back and do a couple of scenes like, shit, we already shaved him. Right, go and
Yeah.
Go and do it. But yeah, so he's going around all of the various precincts, and he gets very frustrated. And at first, he's handed an envelope with money, and he's like, "This is weird." And he goes to his commanding officer and hands it in, and his commanding officer takes it and says, "No, hey, like this is yours.
This is yours. What do you want me to do with this?
Yeah." As everyone gets their share, and he doesn't understand, he doesn't like it, and he tries to report over his head. It doesn't go very well. Because even when they sound receptive to what he's saying, they kind of just don't do anything about it. It's like, no,
They're not along. It's like, yeah, we'll look into it.
Because that's kind of the escalation of the film, is that he keeps going higher and higher on the food chain. He goes higher up. He goes to the commissioner. He's basically fobbed off. He goes higher than that. He's fobbed off. And it's not until he actually goes outside the department and speaks to press that some feathers actually get ruffled a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And so it's the frustration, because he gets really angry, because obviously he's very idealistic. There's a point in the movie where he starts getting very angry at home, because no matter what he does, he's getting stonewalled.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the only point in the movie where he becomes unlikable because of how naive he is with the idealism. Like, with the money in the envelopes. It's like, right, okay, take them and donate them to charity. Like, someone even suggests that, right? Donate to charity. Do something good with it. And he's just like, nope, not touching it. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, because you're not frustrated with him for wanting to fight it and expose it, but
there are better ways.
But it's like you're making us, because that's one of the big things, is that he's making himself a target by actively refusing it in front of everyone else's face. Like, he's actively painting himself as someone who doesn't take the money, and that's one of the big things. Is the other cops say, "Oh, you can't really trust a cop who doesn't take the money. You can never trust them," and they refer to him as being weird and. They force him to go with the other cop at one point who like collects money and then distributes it and evenly counts it. And that cop eventually, I mean, I'll give the spoiler warning because I feel like there's not much to talk about without it. It's kind of but at the same time, I don't feel we're actually going to spoil that much by telling you the plot.
Yeah, I don't think anything is lost by knowing the outcomes of anything, because it's all just in the direction, the performance.
Yeah. But he, that cop eventually dies, and all the other detectives, one of whom was kind of Frank's friend, at the academy. He's like, no, you need to take the money. But they end up all meeting in the park, and it's this very tense conversation, and they're in broad daylight. But you get this feeling that they're all starting to conspire against him. They're all starting to talk about him, and what he's up to, and who he's talking to.
Yeah, and they get to this point where it's like, fine, if you're not going to take it, we'll just split your share.
Yeah. And it keeps escalating. It keeps escalating. It goes further up. At one point, he thinks he's getting a higher up to help him, and then he doesn't talk to him for months, and then gets pissed off that he talked to the press and just kind of opts out of the whole thing. And then when he finally does get some kind of investigation, right, from another department, right, they send in. It's not internal affairs, I don't think, right yet. I think this is the story of how internal affairs kind of get set up, actually, if I recall correctly.
That sounds like it makes sense.
Yeah. But that's outside the department, and he actually starts refusing to testify and things like that, because no, because all this is going to do is get a couple of scapegoats, a couple of low down the food chain. This could only be happening to this level if people high up knew about it this whole time.
Yeah,
and
all those captains, they know exactly what's going on.
At best, the commissioner just didn't care and turned a blind eye. At worst, he's culpable.
On the take. Yeah.
He's just as bad as everyone else. Which, so he feels this frustration, and he's trying to sort through it. But what the film really is, that's the plot, that's what's happening until eventually the actual fear of because one of the things that's brought up is that, hey, what's going to happen? It's not that another couple necessarily shoot you, but when you need backup, they won't show up. It's when
they'll just look the other way when you shout for help.
Yeah. And that's essentially what happens. He's on this drug bust in a new department again by the end of the movie. And he's at this door tackling to try and get in, and the other two cops there could help him and just shoved in the door with him, but no, they just stand there and wait for him to get shot. And he gets shot in the face. He gets shot right in the cheek.
Yeah, it's painful.
And he survives, and he eventually testifies. Of course, that's the end of the movie. But that's the that's the plot and the fault. He gets cards in hospital at the end of the movie, but it has get well crossed out, and it'll say die slowly or things of that nature.
Yeah.
But
pretty grim.
But what I think what it really is, though, the movie, and what the main mechanic in the movie that makes it work, because the plot's fine, it's an interesting plot, bit repetitive perhaps in places, but that's just kind of the nature of what actually happened. is it's this constant kind of like, it's almost a superhero movie. And stay with me here when I say this, right?
Okay, I'm waiting.
I'm going to compare it a little bit to The Dark Knight. And what I mean by this is it's about not giving up your sense of right and wrong, your sense of your ideals. It's not being broken by the system around you, right? No matter what. Now this is a bit almost arguably a darker ending because he is kind of broken by it, and he retires. He goes off to Switzerland. That's what it says at the end. He's living in Switzerland somewhere, off the grid.
Yeah.
But no matter what, he sticks to his ideals, and again, kind of in a stupid way almost, where he's making it really obvious. He's putting himself in danger by doing so. But arguably, putting on a bat suit and going out and fighting people is also.
I don't disagree with what you just said, but
Yes.
it's also not my read that I would get. To me, it's a descent into obsession. It's because it's the way he's so obsessed with being so morally right that it actively affects everything and makes his life worse. And he gets ruins his home life. He gets angry. He pushes his friend away. And ultimately it leads to him getting shot, and it's all these things. It's this obsession. It's the way it builds over time.
That does not in any way sever the connection to Batman. Is Batman not a story of obsession? It's his war on crime, not an obsession. Tell me it isn't. I dare you.
It is, but typically they're not the descent into the obsession, right?
Sure.
We kind of skip over that part usually.
I think maybe what you'd say there is this is more of a realer take on it, in that to actually stick to your ideals like this, you have to be obsessed, and maybe that does have all these consequences. Because even if you take it at that, and it's in its most like purest cynical form, and I don't necessarily disagree with that cynical form because it is an obsession, and it does drive everyone else away. Is it still worth it for not giving up his ideals? When everyone else is like, just let it go. He's like, no, I'm not going to, because it has to mean something. It has to stand for something. And I guess the movie kind of leaves it open, but like,
it's almost a sunk cost fallacy, right? Where he's like, no, I've stuck to my guns this long. This many people hate me already. I might as well keep going.
Yeah, but that's the question though. Can anyone ever stick to their ideals and you not accuse them of just being obsessed or sunk cost fallacy?
No, it's fair.
Can they ever just do it for the right reasons that they're claiming to do it for?
I think they can, and I think Frank Zucker mostly did. I think in his mind it was always it wasn't I can't give up now. I've put too much time into this. I think he always was genuinely believing no I've got to do this because it's the right thing to do. That's the way it's presented in the movie, at least. But at the same time, it doesn't mean it didn't become an obsession. It didn't. It definitely negatively impacted his life.
Oh, sure not. No, I agree with that. And I guess that's like just some of the sacrifices that one has to make, I suppose, if no one's willing to stand by them while they're going in their deep dive. But it's the idea of sunk cost fallacy, which is something that you can talk about a lot when it comes to not backing down. And I wonder, like, if you can accuse someone who you would agree is trying to do the right thing, at which point does it matter that it's sunk cost fallacy?
Yeah.
Should they give up? Because if anyone on the other side is going to also be operating under sunk cost fallacy, then the good guys are never going to win. Someone has to be obsessed enough and care enough to actually see it through.
That's true. I think the problem is the onus falls on, in this case, the good guys, right? Because they've got to change the system. Everyone else just has to be content and do nothing.
Yeah.
They just have to let it carry on. Whereas it's him that has to actively push for change.
Well, that's why that's why he's the protagonist, because it's a movie.
Yeah.
But B, that's also like that's the challenge of it, right? That's the
right. But what I mean is, it's why I wouldn't necessarily call what the others were doing sunk cost. Is because they're not even thinking about it like that.
Oh, sure. I was speaking more in broad terms, just to how you use sunk cost in general. When you've got two sides of the same debate, just think of politics right now. Like, just
yeah. Like I said, I think it's easier to whoever's on the defending side of whatever the status quo is, usually gets away with not being sunk cost because they don't have to think about it in the same way as a rule.
I don't know if I can agree with that.
Okay.
I just
I'm
I
not saying
feel
it's always the case.
I just feel like not so much in the sense of like how things are, but just in the sense of when they're arguing why things should stay the same, it typically turns into sunk cost fallacy
Right.
and
Okay.
not changing their minds.
I think it depends whether or not they're actually benefiting from, like in this case here,
Sure,
the
yeah,
corrupt
yeah.
cops, they're benefiting to them. It's well, we're getting money out of this. It's a win-win for them. They're like, this is good. Why would we want to change it?
Okay, for them it's just straight up corruption and greed.
Yeah, which
But
I think maybe this is the me being cynical again is more often than not the case in so
oh yeah, you are sick. No, like I like the idea that he does become obsessed in an unhealthy way, but at the same time, his obsession, what he's obsessed about, is actually quite noble, and he does
it
achieve
is, yeah.
something good by
Oh,
becoming
absolutely.
obsessed.
Yeah.
And it's that question of like, can we achieve something without becoming obsessed? You know, something this grand and big, where the system is so corrupt and rot. And I don't think anyone would argue that it should be cleaned up. Like, no one wants this to be the focus. Where I mean, the first time they get a call for the attempted, not even attempted, the gang rape. The guy in the car's like, oh, that's not our precinct. That's fine. We can just go to sleep. Someone else can get it. He doesn't care. It's like he's like, no, we're supposed to be. This is supposed to be our job, is to try and protect people. Like this is what we're supposed to do. And obviously there has to be an element of like, this is just our job. We can't take everything as like we're these noble guardians every day. Like, that's just, no one can live up to that every day of their damn lives.
Yeah.
Of course they can't. But there's also like the other end where it's like, no, we don't care about that. We just care about extorting money out of criminals, and that's our day to day. That's all we care about.
That's how we make our living, right?
Yeah. And he, so yeah, no, the idea that it's obsession, but I think that's why it's maybe an apt comparison to Batman, rather than someone like Superman or the Flash or whatever, because Batman is obsessed, to an unhealthy amount where everyone kind of points that out, but he does get the job done, and you can never necessarily argue that he's doing things for the right reasons, or that he's achieving something good in what he's doing.
Yeah. Take all that sense. You're on his side. It's the right thing to do in terms of the results.
Yeah.
But it's definitely damaging to himself.
It's there's that sacrificial element, I suppose, if you want to go down that path. I also wonder, like, it takes a lot of willpower to get anything like this big done, and I do then tying back into, do you have to be obsessed to achieve any of this? Is that the only way to have the willpower and have the determination, is to actually be a little obsessed? And where is the line where it goes from you're just really
into really want change to okay, now it's an obsession.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting thing, because I don't think I could pinpoint the moment that is in this film.
I think that makes it more realistic, because I don't think there necessarily is like a moment.
No,
for
there's
most
no
people.
point where I go, oh, that's it. That's the point where I'd say it's an obsession now. You just kind of, somewhere 2/3 through, you're like, man, this is really unhealthy.
Yeah. So no, it's a really interesting character study. I mean, that's what the movie is. It's a character study of him and everything he goes through. But it's also a condemnation of the corruption. It's a condemnation of how things worked, and an effort to change them. So
it's almost like a historical thing of like, look, this is how bad it was. Let's not let it get back here. It's like a reminder of what it was.
And I think also by extension, if things weren't actually that bad, if things were only just a little bit iffy, right?
Yeah.
It would take less effort to fix it. I think the fact that someone has to be obsessed to even make a dent in the system is a sign of how bad the system is.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, again, it's the I keep going back to Batman, but it's the idea that it's how bad that site is. They created Batman. They created who he was because of how bad it is. It created something so powerful on the other opposite end of the scale to try and counteract it. Serpico kind of became more obsessed to counteract what was going on.
I can't believe we came out of this discussion with the conclusion that Serpico is Batman. Yeah, I thought we're going to come into this, and this is one of those films that, it's been talked about to death, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
We haven't got any fresh takes on this. There's a few we've done in the past where it's like, we'll talk about it, but we haven't got any hot takes.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anyone else has gone, Serpico, he's Batman.
I mean, I never came in with the intention of doing that. It was just, I got to compare it, and the more I think about it, the more I can kind of correlate.
No,
Obviously, there's
the more we talk about it, the more evidence there is.
and not everything lines up, but just, I mean, I actually really like that last point I made about it creating him. Like, he became this obsessed because he tried to fix it in a gentle way that wasn't an obsessed way. And the more it rallied against them, the more the corruption became this bigger demon to slay, the more he had to become this.
I would say it wasn't even the more it rallied against it. It was just the more the longer the indifference went on. It was time that broke him, because it didn't get any worse. It was just shit from the start. And it was just the fact that no one was trying to change it. They kept saying they were, but that nothing was happening.
I would say it got bigger because he kept every time he went to a new precinct, it got bigger, because at least for his perception.
Oh, for his perception, sure.
Yeah, it wasn't actually bigger and bigger as the movie went on, but for him learning, because after one precinct, this is bad. Second one, that's bad. And I remember going to the third one, he actually got the officer to phone the commander and say, "Is the precinct clean?" He doesn't want to be anywhere that's not clean, and they assure him it is, and it's even dirtier than the last two.
Yeah.
And I think maybe after that point he's not surprised anymore at any new place, but that was the last straw.
Because I think it might be that thing where it's like, oh no, that last place was small fry. They were taking back 100 a week. These guys are going back with 800.
Yeah, because there's that great scene about a third, maybe halfway through, where he arrests a guy who is supposed to be untouchable. He's supposed to be protected by the police because he pays up.
And he snaps a little bit.
He brings him in, and he doesn't snap yet. He brings him in first, and then it's when he's sitting there waiting to be booked that the guy makes a sort of snide little joke about how...
Yeah, all the other officers are there just chilling. It's like, oh yeah, we'll let you out in 20 minutes, don't worry.
Yeah, and he's acting like this is not a big deal, like, this is fine, you can't touch me. And he just grabs him in... I mean, he doesn't necessarily throw punches, but he just very roughly gets him up against the wall, searches him, rips his clothes, throws him in the cell like he's nothing, ragdolls him essentially.
It's very I wouldn't say violent, but aggressive.
Yeah, and then he smashes the chair he was sitting on, and makes sure every other detective in that room knows how he feels right now. He is
being arrested. Yeah.
He's staying in that cell.
Yeah.
It's kind of glorious. And there's also sorts of other little things sprinkled throughout the film. Like, he gets this weird complaint on his record because when he's working at the fingerprint place, because he signs up for the academy to learn how to do the fingerprints, read them, which by the way, before computers, this looks like really boring work. He's got like a little what do you call it?
Magnifying glass.
Yeah, I think that's got a specific name.
Yeah. It does have a specific thing, but it's basically what it is.
Yeah, and he's like just checking fingerprints. Oh my god, this looks so dull. Oh my god.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. Thank God for computers.
And he gets into the bathroom and there's like a guy in there. The guy in there's like spying on like this fitness gym or something across the street.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look at the hot chick. Yeah. And he's like, oh, go on then, I'll have a look.
And he's got the light off because of that. And then because he was talking about ballet a minute ago, this other officer who's like a superior follows him in, and because he sees him in the bathroom with another guy, he assumes he's gay, and loses his shit about the fact that there's a gay cop in the and he puts in a complaint, and it's showing you the times, it's showing you just everything that he's facing, and we know he's not gay, not that it matters, not that it should matter, but this is just these assumptions made about him. Just because he's a little bit different, just because he's talking about ballet, he takes a Spanish class, and for the other cops that's weird. Yeah, because he wants to learn. It is a bit weird, but it's not that weird.
I mean, Spanish. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, some people like learning languages. I mean, I don't, but some people do.
Some people are idiots. What do you want me to say?
I feel like you're being aggressively douchey here for some reason.
I am.
And I'm not sure why.
I don't know. I feel like we've had a month off. I haven't insulted foreign languages enough. I feel like I've got to get it all out.
Well, we're doing TV Multiverse after this. There's a fantastic ginger line in one of the shows, so I'm looking forward to talking about that. Yes,
and we're going to have some fun talking about accents.
Yeah, but to be fair, it turned out it wasn't really from that place, so it's okay.
Well, yeah, but I got multiple shows to talk about accents.
Oh, sure, okay, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so So I mean, Pacino's performance is very understated at first. It's funny. Pacino back then was very quiet, right? And then Pacino now, you just imagine him shouting and yelling at everything.
Yeah. Which is basically how we get over this movie. He starts as just this quiet, normal dude.
Yeah.
And by the end, he's yelling.
Yeah. Yeah. That was basically him. He's a member. You could almost argue that fudge some details, and this is just a prequel to Dog Day Afternoon, because in that he's like, shouting at a cat, and doing this whole kidnap heist standoff thing of a jig. We're going to do Dog Day Afternoon at some point. It's been a long time since I've seen it. Which is notable because one of the actors, I can't remember his name. I'm going to go and find it. There's an actor who unfortunately passed away quite young. Who was only in 5 movies, and Dog Day Afternoon was one of them. But the reason why I bring this up is because this guy, if I just find Dog Day Afternoon, where is it? This guy, his 5 movies were The Godfather, Godfather Part 2, Dog Day Afternoon, The Conversation, and when I click on his name, I'll tell you, John Cazale was the guy's name. 5 movies, and the other one was The Deer Hunter. And
that's a hell of a filmography.
That is quality over quantity. Who knows what career he'd had if he'd lived, but that is like one of the best resumes ever. Is that set of 5 movies?
Yeah, if you've only got 5 movies to your name, and you can go, it's those 5, you're up there, right?
I almost think it'd be funnier though if you had like 4 classics and then one just like
a shite.
You had Godfather, you had The Conversation, you had Dog Day Afternoon, you had Deer Hunter, and then the 5th one was like Chopping Mall. Like that would amuse me greatly.
Yeah. Although let's be honest, Chopping Mall is better than all of them.
Oh yeah, Chopping Mall's fantastic. Maybe I should have picked an actual bad movie, but Chopping Mall, something really different, compared to all these Oscar contenders and tour de force performances, and and he's not the main character in any of them. He's one of the sort of supporting cast in all of them, but he's very good in all of them as well, to be fair. But direction very understated, very straightforward. As is the pacing, as is the editing, but it has that grungy 70s New York feel to it.
So dirty.
It feels so dirty. I mean, I don't know. I guess it was just the times, but for some reason, New York in the 70s and 80s just looks disgusting.
Yeah.
It just always does.
I have to imagine it actually was just disgusting because it's so prevalent. As that's how I see it.
Yeah, but I hear it's actually one of the nicest and safest cities in the country now. But
well, they did a good job cleaning it up, didn't they?
Yeah,
they got Serpico to thank.
Serpico
and his mate Bob.
Single-handedly, not single-handedly. Yes, 2 of them apparently.
Yeah. Let's give him the credit he deserves.
Well, before we wrap up, though, is there any other positive, sure, but I'm specifically asking about critiques, maybe. I mean, we talked about the pacing being maybe a little bit slow and maybe been a little overlong. The girlfriend character's been a little underdeveloped and just kind of being there to be the girlfriends, essentially.
I'd say we spoke a lot about how the direction, the editing, it's very confident and it knows what it's doing. I'd say it could benefit from maybe shaking it up a little bit as the situation's getting worse for Serpico, or he believes that it's all worse. It's all ramping up. I feel like maybe just speed up the edits a bit. Just a touch here or there, make it feel a little bit more frantic. Time's running out. All these, it's so relentless in its pacing that I don't think that accurately reflects the story or the character at the end.
I can see that. Or maybe even just shake it up in terms of direction and style. Maybe have to go with the frantic thing. Maybe have more handheld, perhaps in the
whatever you want to do to achieve it, but just something. I feel like it's so relentlessly the same, which I understand why, but I don't know. I feel like for the character would have made more bit more impact if it's shaken up the direction as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that about does it then. So we should probably rate the film. What would you give Serpico out of 10?
I'll give it a straight 8.
That's exactly what I was going to give it. You're stealing my thunder.
Well, you could go first.
What are you doing? Well, no, because there's more anticipation for my score.
There's not if it's just the same as mine.
There usually is, though.
Sure, if you say so.
It's not like I know what you're going to say. It's not my fault you said the same number I was going to say.
I don't think you've got any statistics to back this up.
I don't need statistics.
Of course you do. You can't claim that there is more anticipation just on a gut feeling that you have.
All right, fine. You can keep track of where people skip in the video, and so many people just skip over your rating. They just
yeah. Do
straight
they
to mine.
really?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see about that.
That's what they do. So
what they do is they skip over it to get yours first, and then come back to mine.
that is Serpico. This has been 121 in Flux, and we'll be back hopefully next week with another movie. Not Old Boy next. We'll do at least another one before we go back to another Patreon pick. But we'll be back with a movie next week, and hopefully back to a regular weekly schedule on these, because we do actually like watching movies, which is as strange as that sounds to say.
Yes,
but we do.
we do. So. The only reason I would say is if you don't get one over the next few weeks, it's probably because we did a Star Trek movie instead, because we're working through those as well, and if a week gets busy, it might have to alternate.
There should be both.
There should be both, but if you don't see one of these and there's a Star Trek movie, that'll be why.
Sure, that's a possibility, but there should be both next time. Yeah.
There should be.
We will see you next time. Let us know what you thought of the movie in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz. Of course, go over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. I'll click my Patreon thing at the bottom back on. I forgot to do that earlier.
Oh, slacking.
I know. So you go to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv and you can support us over there. You get these episodes a week early. These are in Fluxes. You get to do other various things. You get other bonuses. You get 121 Extra, which is a bi-monthly show that alternates with Almost Cancelled Extra for the $1. And that's like a movie discussion. Last one was a horror movie genre, sort of history kind of thing. First one was aspect ratios in the shape of various cinema formats. And then who knows what the next one's going to be.
We have no idea.
I've got a spattering of ideas for the next one.
Oh yeah, we'll see.
Got a spattering.
I have the power to veto.
You think you've got the power to veto? So you could go over there, have a look, and there's obviously other things at the higher tiers. So do have a look, and it might make you feel warm and mildly fuzzy on the inside. Pun intended. So thank you very much for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and we'll see you next time.